In this video, I'm going to teach you how to get better at tactics in chess. Now, my voice might sound a little bit different because I got a flu in the middle of summer somehow. So basically, I'm a little bit sick. My voice is a little raspy. So don't worry about that. Just enjoy the video. So first things first, what I want to say is that if you want to get better at tactics, you need to do what I like to call unlocking new patterns. So for example, let's say you're doing puzzles on chess.com or Lichess. What you want to be trying to achieve is you're trying to learn new patterns. For example, you're in a position like this and you need to find the correct move. In this position, the correct move is this move, knight to g5. Let's say black castles. What's the correct move now? Only winning move, queen to h5. Threatening checkmate on h7 and also triple attacking this pawn on f7. Checkmate has to be defended, obviously, and now knight takes f7 wins the game. So you want to basically hunt for these patterns. You want to try to understand why these patterns work and why they're so important. Because the thing is, this is a pattern, this knight g5, queen h5, is a very simple tactical pattern that can happen in many different move orders. So for example, you can get a very similar position. I can show you it from the very beginning. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, and we get this type of a position where knight to e7 is played. And the reason why this whole tactic works is because the knight goes to e7 and not on f6. If the knight went to f6, there's no queen h5, so black can just simply castle here and black is totally fine. This is bad for white, giving up two pieces. Now for the rook and the pawn, it's not good for the white pieces. But if the knight goes to e7, there's this tactic because there's queen h5. The knight was never developed to f6. So what you want to do is you want to unlock these sorts of patterns so when you see them in different positions, you don't miss them and you actually spot them and you punish your opponent's mistakes. So always try to unlock new patterns. For example, when you're doing puzzles, if you're not trying to learn new patterns or if you're not trying to practice your calculation, what's the point of doing puzzles in the first place? Puzzles are good for those two things mainly. There are some other uses for puzzles as well, but if you're not practicing your calculation abilities and if you're not learning new patterns, and you're just going through the motions and you're like trying to just like, okay, you don't even see what the right move is. You just go knight g5 and get lucky. This is called going through the motions. You're not going to be able to learn chess this way. You're not going to be able to improve at chess this way because this just simply does not work. You need to be able to spot these tactics. You need to calculate them and you want to try to, as I said, you want to unlock and learn new patterns. Okay, but how do we make sure that when we see a pattern that we have never seen before, that it actually sticks in our mind rather than us just forgetting about it? How do we make sure that we do that? Well, let's take a look at this example right here. And this is actually from one of my games. In this position, I actually missed a tactic. What I did was, well, actually, I'm not going to tell you what the answer is. If you want to solve this, pause the video. But actually, now I'm going to tell you what the answer is. So what I played in the game was bishop to e7. I simply retreated my bishop. Now, my position is still very good, so I ended up winning the game anyways. I played knight c4 later, like bishop d2, knight c4 was played in the position, and I ended up winning the game. However, there was a very, very weird and rare tactic in this position, which I didn't even think of. So there's bishop takes e4, which this part I get because it's a forcing move. And after rook takes e4, this is the move that I missed. Knight to f6, only winning move. That's crazy. And the idea here is that if the rook goes back to e1, defending the queen, we go knight to g4, and we're basically going to be winning some material over here. This is like impossible to defend. You have to play like queen d8, but even that doesn't help because this bishop takes f2 comes with a check. So this is already very good for the black pieces. If you take the knight, you obviously lose the queen. And if you take the queen first, there's an insane move. Bishop takes f2, king takes f2. Now we take the rook with a check. The king tries to come up the board, attacking the knight. We take the queen back, they take the knight, and there's rook d1. So this is a crazy pattern that I missed completely. And you're winning the bishop back in this case, and you're going to be up exchange, and you're going to be up an additional pawn as well with the black pieces. So I missed this completely. I didn't even think about this knight f6 move at all. But the thing is, how do I make sure that whenever this type of a position comes up again in my games, how do I not miss this tactic again? And this is the trick that I'm going to teach you. So whenever you fail a tactic in your games, save the position either in a Lichess study or whatever else software you use, or if you don't use any softwares, use Lichess studies. Trust me, I might even make a video on how to use Lichess studies because it's such a good feature and you should learn how to utilize that. So now what I'm going to do with this position, now that I actually missed this tactic, I'm going to save this position in a study, and then I'm going to go back to this position maybe a week later or maybe 2 weeks later, and I'm going to solve this position again. This is called spaced repetition. And basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do the same puzzle, but I'm trying to do it after my brain has been sort of refreshed and after this position leaves my memory for a while. So I want to basically repeat this position after a certain period of time. And once you do that enough times, you're going to be able to pick up on these patterns more and more. So definitely whenever you're in a position where you miss a tactic in your games, save the position in a study and solve it again a week later or maybe 2 weeks later. That way, when it comes up again, you are less likely to miss it again. Another very important tip that I want to give you is to try to look for potential tactics from far away. So in this position, there is no tactic right now. There are lots of things that white can do. There are lots of things that black can do. Right now, it's black to play. But what I want you to do is I want you to see these tactics and realize potential tactics from far away. So for example, in this position, let's say knight to d7 is played or something like this. You play a move like bishop to f4, a very normal move. And let's say black castles. What do you do here? Actually, in this position, what you have is this move e5. And after e5, as it turns out, boom, bishop takes h7, because now the knight no longer guards the pawn. And we have the Greek gift sacrifice, which wins the game for the white pieces. If king to g8, there's knight takes d5 first. And after cd5, there's queen h5. What's funny is that if you go queen h5 right away here, there's apparently knight 7 to f6, and somehow black holds here a little bit, which is kind of crazy. But you can take the knight first for sure, and then you can do this, because after takes, queen h5, knight f6 does not work anymore. So what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to spot these tactics from far away, and you want to look for these tactics from far away. Don't just try to find tactics right now. Find tactics that can potentially happen to your opponent or even to you as well. Look for tactics on your own position. Look what black, well, in this case, black can't do any tactics on you because you're just way more active. But in some different position where black is really active, they could have a tactic on you. So always look for tactics to your opponent and always look for tactics that they can do to you. Try to spot them from far away. Next tip that I want to tell you is to always look for undefended pieces. So for example, if in this position a move like b6 is played, this is a very bad move. And the reason why it's a very bad move is because it opens up this diagonal, which it seems like we can't really use it with the white pieces, but there is a way to utilize this diagonal for white. And the way you utilize this is by looking at undefended pieces. So what you want to do is you want to realize that this rook is undefended. Once you realize that, you will realize that there are some potential ideas where we can take on f6 and we can go queen e4 with a checkmate threat on h7 and with an attack on the rook. But also another very important detail that you should realize is that there's a rook on d1 and a queen on d8. So in a position like this, the rook is lined up with the queen. So what we should do is we should start by playing this move, d takes c5. And in this position, queen c7 is the only move. And queen c7 keeps the position only +1. Every other move loses instantly. Why? Because if, for example, bishop takes, we go knight takes f6, knight takes f6, and then very simple, bishop takes h7, and we take the queen. If the knight takes instead, it's the same deal. We take on f6, we take on h7, and we basically win the queen again. So let's say black assumes that he can take with the pawn here, because at least this keeps this file closed. And if takes, let's assume that black takes with the bishop or something like that, because this way the knight blocks the rook's path. So bishop takes h7 doesn't work anymore. What's funny is that bishop takes h7 still works because of a different reason, but it's better to start with queen e4 first. You can go bishop h7 and queen e4 now, but you can start with queen e4 right away. This threatens checkmate. It has to be defended with g6, and then we take the rook on a8, leading to a completely winning position. And all of this happened because we scanned the position for undefended pieces and potential tactics on the d-file. Tip number 5 is going to be always look at where the pressure is building up. And in this case, it's very simple. We have a rook on e1, queen on e2, aiming this way. We also have a knight aiming at e6. So we have 3 pieces aiming at e6. So this should logically tell you that the best move in the position could be something like, I don't know, maybe knight takes e6. And this is also from one of my games, which I played and won very, very quickly. And after f takes e6, queen takes e6, this is just an extremely devastating position because you can't do anything with the black pieces. You can't castle either way. You can't go queen c6 because queen e7 is checkmate. You're threatening a mate of your own, but you get checkmated first. And there's just simply nothing you can do. You can try something like maybe, I don't know, rook to d8 maybe, but there's bishop to e2, and let's say rook to d1, bishop h5, and you get something like this. And this is just a completely winning position for the white pieces. Bishop d6, you just win the queen, and you're going to win this game. Actually, it's still checkmate after bishop g4, and then bishop takes f5. So there are so many tactics, and if you want to spot moves like this, you have to look at where the pressure is building up. In this case, we have tremendous pressure on e6. So if there is tremendous pressure building up on e6 and the king is still on e8, there is going to be some logical thought process that tells you that knight takes e6 might actually be a good move because you're going after this king. And as it turns out, it is the best move. So always look at where the pressure is building up. Next tip I'm going to give you might sound very simple, but it actually helps quite a lot. And that's to actually look for tactics, because whenever you're in any chess position, it's very easy to not look for any tactics and just simply go through the motion. For example, it's very easy to play a small improving move such as king to b2 in this position, and all of a sudden you lose all your advantage. But psychologically, if you're actually actively looking for tactics in any given position, you're going to be more likely to find them. I know it sounds very simple. It might even be stupid because, oh, okay, if I want to get better at tactics, I should look for tactics. But the thing is, psychologically, I want you to be thinking about tactics whenever you're playing a game. I want you to be thinking and trying to find impossible moves. So for example, in this position, this is a position from a game between Fabiano Caruana and Ruslan Ponomaryov. And in this position, Fabiano Caruana played rook e7, an amazing move. And you know what's funny about this move? If queen takes e7, there's bishop to a6. So not only you sacrifice the rook, you're also sacrificing the bishop. And this is forced checkmate. So if king takes a6 is played, queen a8 is forced mate, and if not, then queen b7 is forced mate. So this is just an absolutely atrocious. It's just made into queen a3 is the only move to delay checkmate, and then you're gonna get checkmated on the next move anyways. So the point that I'm trying to make is that allow yourself to calculate impossible moves like rook to e7, moves like bishop to a6. Once you actually start looking for these moves, you're actually going to find tactics more and more. And finally, tip number 7 is going to be look for tactical patterns that are common in the openings that you play. So for example, I'm going to show you an example from the Scotch Gambit. This is the opening that I play. Whenever I study a new opening, I'm always looking for new tactical patterns. And I'm always looking for which tactical patterns are common in these openings. So for example, if you're in a position like this, you go bishop to h3, stopping the black king from castling. Black plays d6 to try to castle, and then you go e5, and then you play queen b3. This queen b3 is a very common tactical motif in these types of positions in the Scotch Gambit, in many other e4, e5 openings as well. So trust me, whenever you're learning a new opening, chances are that there are some tactics associated with that opening. There are tactics that happen frequently in that opening. So you always want to be looking out for those, and you always want to learn those patterns, and you always want to learn those tactics, because once they come up in the game, you're going to be able to spot them easily.